Interface Tour. Today's webinar is entitled Outreach to Hispanic Latino Populations, Tu Biblioteca, presented by Patrick Stillman and Ethan Von Tio. Patrick is the Innovations and Programming Officer of Media Arts Center San Diego and was a founding officer of the nonprofit organization in 1994. He has a long history with the arts, nonprofit organizations, and business operations in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and most currently San Diego. Patrick continues to act as a designated lead trainer for the California of the Past projects, which is now located in 40 libraries statewide. Ethan is the Executive Director and founder of Media Arts Center San Diego. For the past 19 years, he's established the San Diego Latino Film Festival as an international event and developed technologically innovative youth programs throughout the state of California and Baja, Mexico, including the Digital Story Station, Mobile Stories, and the acclaimed Teen Producers Project. I'm now happy to introduce Patrick and Ethan.
We're so glad that you were able to join us today. As we learned, we've got a chat session and a Q&A session open, so please send your questions as we go along, and we'll answer some of them on the fly, but we do have a time at the very end of the webinar when we can answer those questions for you as well. As the webinar goes along, we'll note various websites, watch a few videos, and look at some resources. Don't be too concerned if you miss writing down the URLs or the information, because we took care of that for you by going to the webinar resources documents on InfoPeople. I also like to encourage everyone to make sure to include their email information in the survey, as I like to follow up after the webinar with ideas and comments that come out of today's session. Those emails are the only way for me to actually reach you afterwards, so you are, of course, welcome to contact us for more information should you have any questions after today. And our information will be later in the webinar as well as on the resource page. So just a reminder, this is an introductory webinar. That said, whether you're new to Spanish language outreach or a veteran, I promise that we'll have something for you over the next hour. So Ethan, why don't you go ahead and guide us through today's objectives.
Hello everyone, this is Ethan. So the webinar objectives for today is, number one, learn the facts about this growing population. Number two, look at how libraries are meeting the challenges to reach this community. Three, discover how to create participatory programming and services. 4, review what programs, service elements have been successful at other libraries. 5, determine a course of action to assist your library in expanding your effectiveness. And 6, receive online resources that can assist you with the next steps.
Thank you. Okay, so who makes up the Hispanic Latino community? Here we see Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Carlos Santana, American folk singer and political activist Joan Baez, Pulitzer Prize for Drama winner Anna in the Topics playwright Nilo Cruz, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Nobel Prize for Physics winner Luis Alvarez, U.S. Army 4-star General Richard Cavazos, and supermodel Christy Turlington. So what do all these people have in common? They're a part of the Hispanic and Latino community. While we're often bombarded by voices that label the community with stereotypes, by just looking at these 7 well-known Americans, it's easy to understand that the truth in Hispanic-Latino unity is far-reaching in its accomplishments and its interests. Let's go ahead and, in the participant area where we see the raise the hands, I'm just curious, how many of you are actively engaging the Latino community in your libraries? So go ahead and click, oh, here we go, yep. Awesome. Great, so quite a few of you are already actively engaged, which is really good. ALA has How to Serve the World at Your Library. They offer up 4 positive reasons to engage your English language learners. They'll become lifelong learners. They'll become productive citizens in the community and develop communication skills. They'll increase their cultural literacy and cultural awareness skills and recognize the value of diversity among our people. So according to the Pew Hispanic Center analysis of the U.S. Census data, the Hispanic Latino population of the U.S. is on track to exceed over 50 million, or roughly 1 in every 6 Americans. Among children, Hispanics are now roughly 1 in every 4 child. In our home state here of California, for Ethan and I, a year ago, the Wall Street Journal reported that Latino children for the first time make up a majority of California's under 18 population. Hispanics grew to nearly 40% of residents in California, which is the nation's most populous state. So as you can see here, the census report shows the top 5 states by Hispanic population are California, Texas, Florida, New York, and Illinois. And the largest Latino fastest population growth areas are actually the southern states, Alabama, Louisiana, North Carolina, and Louisiana. Oh, said Louisiana twice there. William Frey, a demographer at Brookings Institution who analyzed most of the data in the census, reported saying, this really is a transformational decade for the nation. The census shows vividly how these new minorities are both leading the growth in the nation's most dynamic regions and stemming decline in others. They'll form the bulk of our labor force growth in the next decade as they continue to disperse into larger parts of our country.
Thanks, Patrick. You know, one thing that comes up a lot of times with the Latino population is kind of the mistake that obviously all Latinos are coming from the same countries and same region, and so a lot of marketing companies and programs and services or organizations and libraries, you know, try to market to the community the same. So one thing we want to get across at today's workshop is, number one, the diversity of the Latino community. We have so many individuals from different countries, whether it's from Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Brazil, and then also I know a lot of your libraries might have many indigenous communities from Oaxacan or Zapotec. So they might not even speak Spanish per se. So one thing is to be really important and always keep in mind the diversity of the community that's in your particular neighborhood, and we'll talk a little bit later about connecting to the local neighborhood groups. But number one, look at the diversity of the community. Number two, you know, we just can't just assume that everyone is Spanish speaking, and then also we have to assume that there's a huge young population of young Latinos that are English speaking. So they might still be at home and their parents watch telenovelas in Spanish, or they have their abuelas or abuelos who are speaking Spanish. But when they're at school and when they come to the library and then when they're with their friends and their entertainment habits and their reading habits primarily are in English. So this is a really big challenge for all of us, is this growing youth population who is more bicultural and bilingual than ever. And so us as libraries and organizations, we need to be aware how to reach that ever-growing younger population who's primarily English-speaking. Lots of times, too, we also assume that the population is of certain educated experience, and so it's important to not assume anything, and that there's college-educated Latinos both in their individual countries, but then also, of course, here in the U.S., and we need to provide services for all those different types of community members. So it's not just one simple thing like basic literacy programs might serve one population, but on the other hand, a more higher-end, film and video series of Latino films per se that reaches the college-educated, individual from Argentina or Chile might be a whole other type of programming. So we need to look at diverse types of programming as well. The thing that comes up a lot for the community too in our events that we organize is the importance of creating a welcoming environment for the community that reaches all these different types of members in the community, but then also makes them feel connected. And the one way to do that is to offer programming and services that kind of highlight their cultures, their identity, and then also making sure we have a space that is welcoming, whether it's with signage, whether it's ambiance, music, or anything of the such. So we want to make a place and a library and a program that's really connects to them and connects to the diverse population that, as Patrick mentioned, will continue to grow. Patrick?
One of the most popular debates, or one of the least likely to be solved, is whether you use the term Hispanic and Latino. And you might have already noticed that we kind of have been flipping and flopping already in the first few slides. While it's not a hard and fast rule, in the West we often hear the word Latino, while in the East the community typically prefers Hispanic. Be aware that both Hispanic and Latino carry certain historical weights. The aspects that are good for some people are horrible to another. Hispanic is a government-endorsed term which generally means Spanish-like or affected by Spanish. The more frequent connotation, of course, is Spanish-speaking. It is often seen as a direct reference to Spain, and because of this, it's sometimes rejected or embraced. Some still view Spain as the mother country, while others reject it as a colonial master. Latino, on the other hand, is seen as a term that originated within the community, and as such will often be used in more social and comfortable situations. When used, it's likely to connect to grassroots attitudes. Latino is viewed as a broad reference to Latino languages and people. While people hold this view, you're not likely to hear Italian-American or Franco-Americans referred to as Latino. You might, however, hear Brazilians referred to as Latino because of the shared Iberian heritage. So before you start creating flyers and issuing press releases, it's best to talk with patrons to determine what terms the community is using where your library is situated. You're not likely to find someone who's deeply offended or hurt by your choice between the words Hispanic or Latino, but you may, however, meet a few people who do reject either or both labels. They have the right to choose their identity just as we do, and ask your patrons what they believe is the appropriate label, and in doing so you'll learn more about your community. And for our purposes today, we're going to just use the word Latino going forward.
Well, this brings up to a kind of an exciting part, for us. Is the case studies always a great way to see what other libraries are doing. And in our case, we were here in San Diego very fortunate to have a wonderful partnership with the San Diego Public Library. And the San Diego Public Library, librarian Lynn Whitehouse, we had worked for many years in both screenings. We had a Cine Club film series geared to the Latino audience here in San Diego, and then also some educational programs with our youth. But at one point, Lynn and I, the librarian, we were discussing, how amazing or the importance of getting the Latino community and Spanish-speaking community into the Central Library, which is only maybe a couple miles at most away from this neighborhood called Barrio Logan or Logan Heights. And so why weren't Logan Heights members coming into the library? And one argument that we made to everyone was possibly they're not coming in because there's no books and or visuals, audio visuals that represent their own stories and their own community. So how can we engage this neighborhood and these members to come in and come into the library, use the library services? So one way we came up with a program which was called Barrio Logan, and it was a multifaceted project where, number one, we had youth located in Logan Heights, Barrio Logan, who were producing videos about their community, and they produced videos on history, arts and culture, positive mentors in the community, health issues, education issues, employment issues. And these youth were documenting these stories in the community with the whole purpose that we were going to create curriculum guides and discussion and resource guides, and of course the final DVD that would forever live in the library. Additionally, the second component was to start what we called a digital story station within the library space, so that this was not just about youth telling stories, but any adult from Logan Heights and the community could come into the central library and, again, be a part of the process to tell their story, and that their stories will forever live in the library, and that they can tell their family, hey, did you see this video? Come to the library. So this is a participatory look in terms of getting people engaged in the library, and I think that's one of the new challenges that we have, is that we want to create spaces where we want to engage the Spanish-speaking Latino community. The books, the audiovisual materials, everything needs to have the stories that will connect to them. And one way we did it was we decided, hey, we're going to create the videos, because there weren't, in this case, that many videos or stories or articles about Chicano Heights, Chicano or Barrio Logan. So we created the videos. And this might not be possible by everyone, but you can create videos, you can have youth do poetry or their own stories about their community. And I think if we have them as part of the permanent archive of the library, I think people will feel that they partly own the library, which they should, and they feel more they want to participate. And we have a little bit of video to show you if you'd like to see just a little clip of one of the videos that the team producers worked on a few years ago as part of this Barrio Logan project.
Great. I'm going to show a very short clip. It's edited, but we welcome you to actually go online afterwards and watch the full video. For some of you, depending upon your internet speeds, this may be a little choppy, so just hang in with us. And here we go. Raise your hands if you're getting sound. Awesome. So I think this was a really exciting project. You know, it was actually very clever, I think, in the way that it was created. We used the youth services program at the library, and the kids were connected to not only the community that was nearby, but they were able to meet with leaders in the community and interview them. They were able to research and find photographs of the local community and then include them in the video as well, like you saw. And then there was also the fun of actually creating some sort of animation at the beginning. So it was a great way to bring in the local teams, but also make the important connections to the greater community. Anything else you want to say on Barrio Logan, Ethan?
Well, again, I think you saw what Patrick mentioned. Of course, a lot of these photos and a lot of the information comes from the library itself, too. So you are teaching the students on how to learn how to research in their libraries, which is kind of exciting, in addition to bringing the community members themselves to provide their voice and get their story as part of the permanent collection of the library. And then just to keep in mind that this is a model that we've done now in other libraries, not only with the Digital Story Station, but with the youth, with the Malcolm X Library here in San Diego, City Heights Library. And so it's an interesting model to, again, make sure people are all telling their own stories and that they do have a voice and that their voice is important and should be part of the permanent catalog.
Absolutely. Before we look at the Adelante program, which is headed up by Grace Francisco, she worked with me on that, and you can see her in this picture here doing Digital Story Station work. You know, I was fortunate to work with Grace at the libraries across the state of California, and here's some ways that program, the California the Past program, actually was able to incorporate outreach to Spanish-speaking participants. You can see her on the right-hand side working with a farm worker at the Salinas Public Library who's telling a story of working the land and its connection to the American farm worker, labor leader, and civil rights activist Cesar Chavez. I welcome all of you to visit digitalstorystation.com and watch the stories from Salinas Public Library. Almost all of them are subtitled in English. It was an awesome program that Media Arts sort of led to assist libraries to expand their community outreach. And if this excites you, then you can either contact me or go ahead and look on the InfoPeople website under my name, and you will find 2 Digital Story Station webinars that we did earlier in the year. Okay, on to Adelante. This was a joint venture between the Oceanside Public Library and the San Diego County Health and Human Services Agency, their public health department. And Adelante means forward, by the way. And some of the funding came through the state library. The California State Library was actually very progressive because they actually started Spanish language outreach in the early 80s. So they kind of led the way. Of course, today you'll find Spanish language outreach services across the country. So this program started in 2003 to purchase the catering truck that you see, which was converted into a bookmobile. Books on one side and public health nurses from the county on the other. So the librarians and health workers drove up to predominantly Spanish-speaking neighborhoods with the truck, opened up the side doors, and provided health education to the public. They advertised at the local grocery stores, community bulletins, church bulletins, even got the owner of a local swap meet to give them space to do outreach. And through that, the library built a coalition of local key people in the Latino community, store owners, activists, teachers, health clinic employees, and so forth, who were able to advised the library as to what would work to encourage Latinos to actually come into the library. They held monthly meetings with the coalition at the places where they worked. So they didn't force people always to come to the library. They wanted to go into the community. And I think that's really important with the community we're talking about today. Grace even contacted Mira Costa College's English second language classes and asked them to bring their classes to the library for a tour. The tour she gave embraced or emphasized all of the materials and services the library provided. She also had translated the library card applications so people would understand what they were signing up for. And she translated all the publicity flyers, saving paper by printing back-to-back, one side English, one side Spanish. They beefed up the book budget and started including popular novels, such as novellas, which are extremely popular, but had not previously fit into Oceanside Director's vision of proper literature. Novellas are sort of soapy. And so by introducing that, they were able to sort of meet the community with what the community needs were. They had magnets printed up with the name of the program and their logo and the library's phone number and website, so people could put that on their fridge at home and think of the library often. Grace, when I talked to her last week, she reminded me to tell you that one important tip for every library is to find out what are the demographics of their population. How many Latinos are identified as such in the census? You know, how many are really present? As we know, the census doesn't reach everyone. So it's crucial that the library seek out Latino leaders in their community to help them craft a community needs assessment, so that the library spends limited funds in a way that the public really wants. For example, in Oceanside's needs assessment, they found out people wanted books on learning English, as well as classes on the same. They also wanted citizenship books, cookbooks, fix-it or how-to books, exercise, philosophy, and parenting tips. A library can obtain buy-in from the community if they're truly responsive to those needs, as opposed to doing what the library staff think people want. Oceanside created short, simple needs assessment surveys and stationed bilingual volunteers at tables in front of local grocery stores, churches, and laundromats. The responses were what formed the collection of materials as well as the program presentations. She couldn't stress enough the importance of doing this in public, outside of the library, and visiting the people you are trying to reach where they live, shop, clean, and worship. Most of the stores were happy to let the library display posters, flyers, and sit outside to conduct surveys. And the churches were also open to printing information about the library in church bulletins. Though that was kind of a sticky point for the library initially, they determined it was appropriate to reach the community where they gather. I guess there's a downside that I should bring up to this program as well. And the tragic note on this incredibly successful program is that it's currently on hold, you know, along with Oceanside's regular bookmobile program due to the financial difficulties faced by the city of Oceanside and California library system. But Grace is hopeful that as the economy turns around, the program will be on a fast track, as it remains much beloved and greatly missed by the community. So if you want to look at Oceanside's program, you won't find a lot of information online, but you can feel free to contact me, or I can get you in touch with Grace. And if you're serious about getting your own program up and running, I also recommend you to visit Utah State Library's Planning Outreach Activities resource page, which will give you everything you need to assess your current level of responsiveness, tips for success checklists, and suggested outreach activities. You'll even find a great list of specific internet guides for topics of reaching out, services, marketing, planning. And once again, this information, you'll find a link on our resource document. And one of the cool resource documents we've added to this webinars page is InfoPeople's Survival Spanish for Library Staff. Check that out, it's pretty amazing. Okay, Ethan, we're going to talk.
Well,
Go ahead.
well, marketing and public relations, we've talked about some participatory programs, of course, to engage community members in kind of new and innovative ways. You know, whether it's the video programs, the youth programs, oral history programs, or a bookmobile, as Patrick mentioned. But we also have to look at just the general PR and marketing efforts that anyone should look at. And over the years, we've been really successful because there is in most communities such a strong Latino and Spanish-speaking media. It's pretty amazing that it almost exists, you know, outside the whole kind of English language mainstream media, because I know lots of us are trying to always maybe get on the English language TV show or a radio program or something like that. But there is this huge population of media outlets, Spanish-speaking newspapers, Spanish-speaking radio stations, TV stations that are there, and I have found over the past 19 years eager to highlight whether it's our special programs and more importantly, I think they're eager and they have been eager with us to be partners in these types of programmings. So one thing that I would suggest for everyone is if you're going to do a special event geared to the Latino community or Spanish-speaking community, is find that TV station, find that radio station, find that newspaper, and ask them to provide you in-kind media support. And by in-kind media support, for example, a newspaper will provide a free quarter-page ad announcing the program or the event or the service. The TV station will provide a 15-second to 30-second TV spot. The radio station will provide a 15-second to 30-second radio spot. And they do this because they want to get their logo out there too. So in exchange for the in-kind support that you're seeking from them, which is valued at thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars, there's also value in return for you to place their logo on your flyers, on your marketing materials, on your website, and then potentially if there's any signage opportunities at the actual library, that just provides the media partner with, you know, thousands and thousands of eyeballs or impressions. That's how they look at it. So definitely take advantage of these in-kind media partners, because I think I've found that they are really willing to work with you and us, even more so than sometimes the English language partners. Of course, there's the traditional press releases. We always have to write press releases in English and Spanish. There's the traditional websites where you always want to make sure you have your website in English and Spanish. And, you know, I know translation is sometimes a struggle, but sometimes we'll find volunteers and community partners that will support us on that as well. So the traditional media, TV, radio, press releases should always be a part of the equation. On top of that, you know, we have amazing opportunity now to look at new resources and new social marketing. Here in San Diego, we've been using a lot of the Facebook pages that we have, and so I'm sure your library might have a Facebook page already. But in addition to just putting your events on Facebook, making sure that you have, if there's a small budget, you can even create Facebook ads. And what we've done with the Facebook ads is that you can specifically put keywords and to say that, you know, only show this to Spanish-speaking individuals, or only show this with someone interested in literatura en español. You can put specific keywords to that individual, and that will only show to those people that are interested in, you know, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, or, you know, a famous writer that you could just put those keywords in. So Facebook ads are really important, especially for the ever-growing younger U.S. Latino population. And then speaking of the U.S. Younger population, you also have the huge opportunity to use mobile phones. You know, smartphone usage by young Latinos is growing at a tremendous rate. and in the most basic form, just text messaging. We use a lot of just basic text messaging services, but then even making sure that you have mobile versions of your website so people can see them on your smartphone is another thing. I think we have another video also just to show of an example of how another library is also marketing and doing their public relations towards the Latino community. This is the Lexington Public Library, and it's how they reach out to Spanish-speaking parents. Again, hopefully, depending on your connection, you'll be able to see and hear the video properly.
That was actually an edited down version of the video as well. So once again, I recommend that you take this opportunity to check out the entire video. Extremely well done, and it actually outlines more of its the services, the library, as well as how parents can help their kids to become bilingual. And we kept it short and edited so that if the speeds were not coming through, so please check that out. Great.
Patrick, do you see the question?
Yes. Let's see here. I am a library literacy coordinator. Do you have any suggestions for recruiting bilingual Latinos to volunteer as literacy tutors? So many of our adults seeking help are asking to learn English, but only of our tutors is, maybe only one or so of our tutors is bilingual. Ethan, can you take that one? Yeah,
well, I was going to suggest, number one, Nancy, there's so many local colleges and universities that have translating programs, people seeking to be professional interpreters and translators. And so the local colleges and universities for your volunteers, so a lot of adults kind of learning to be translators or students that are taking Spanish-speaking classes at the local colleges or university are always a good resource for us. We found not only the Spanish-speaking classes, but then any students who are taking maybe Chicano studies or Latin American studies at a local college, I think would be more interested in that. For us, I think it's just about putting a call out there and a call for volunteers, telling them your needs. And then, I would find it hard that we wouldn't find the support out there in the community, because I think we've been very fortunate to get the volunteers out there that are bilingual. But maybe via the colleges and the universities, I would start there. Otherwise, and Patrick's going to talk about this in a little bit, but just the importance of community partners and community advisory groups.
Absolutely. I have worked with a lot of different libraries, a lot of times in youth or adult technology programs. And I find that the connection with the young students with the older members of the community really sparks some amazing things because the older generation likes to impart their history and their knowledge onto the younger people. And it can really open up some amazing doors into the community when you start that sort of thing to take place at your library. So even though we talked about 2 successful programs that were here in California, we all know that Spanish language outreach, or SLO, is being done throughout the country at many libraries. According to the ALA report from just a few years ago, some 78% of libraries nationwide develop programs and services in Spanish, the #1 non-English language used in public libraries these days. Not that surprising, but still 78%. That's a large number of us. I want to particularly bring to your attention a few successes and resources available to you from Montana SLO and New York State SLO Professional Development. In Montana, 2 years ago, the library had a successful webinar, and that spun off into a blog, and I just posted the blog information on the chat section. And the blog gives librarians throughout Montana a place to share ideas and develop successful outreach activities for Spanish speakers in their local communities. So I highly suggest you visit to get ideas that can translate to your own library. I think it's always exciting to see a place where librarians are actively engaging and sharing information, and Montana did a really good job with its SLO site. New York State, not surprising, is also doing some amazing things. And if you're attempting to put together a large-scale plan for Spanish language outreach, then you might want to seriously review the final report that they have posted on New York's SLO outreach program. I just posted that information in the chat line as well. And it launched their National Spanish Language Outreach Program, which was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation U.S. Libraries Program. So if you are working on the grant writing side of things, this is a perfect place to get a lot of great information on how to format your own narrative. As you can imagine, in a topic so far-reaching, it's near impossible for us to cover everything that's being done within the limitations of an hour. But there's 2 more resources that I really want to make sure I share with you today. And the first of them is Chiles. Chiles.org. There we go. And that's Children and Libraries en Español. It's a website dedicated to sharing resources, ideas, and support to children librarians who serve Spanish-speaking children. So if that's your area of expertise, I tell you, you could spend hours on this website. It's so cool. It's so chock full of great articles, web resources, interactive maps, webcasts, book reviews, you name it. If you are a children's librarian, this is really a cool place to hang out. I find this site even more robust than SALSA. And SALSA is, out of Chicago Public Libraries, actually Chicago Public School Department of Libraries and Information Services. It's their educators resource site that serves Latino students. And they have tons of great information as well, but definitely check out Chiles. And then you may have heard, one second here, let's see, CHILES.org. someone's asking about that. Great. Okay. And you might have already heard of Reforma. That's the National Association to promote library and information services to Latinos and the Spanish-speaking. And though this does require a membership, I still think it's important to mention it's not as maybe as exciting or fun as the children's focus of Chile's, but you'll find lots of upcoming events, news, announcements, and of course their annual national conference, which takes place in September. This year their theme is Elevating Latino Services to a Higher Level. It is membership, but libraries have like a $50 annual rate to access all the information they want, as well as then the opportunity to connect to regional chapters of the organization. They're well known for their participation in ALA's Reference and Users Association publications, like the Guidelines for Library Services to Spanish-speaking users. So it would be a good resource as well for you to connect with.
And then I guess kind of some final steps before we get close to the end here in terms of the next steps in taking action. 3 steps to kind of take away from today's presentation is number 1, advisors, identifying key advisors in the community, whether they're from a local nonprofit or social service organization that works with the Latino community, or a local college professor or teacher, or maybe represents someone from a local Spanish-speaking media outlet. But the key is advisors and not doing this all alone. And that's what we found for many, many years, is that as long as you have a strong community of advisors, and that the community sees you working with different organizations and leaders in the community, they'll know that you're kind of serious about this outreach, and it's not just a one thing. So community leaders, they could be religious organizations, educators, maybe involved with advocacy issues. But in addition, you need to make sure that these individuals have a buy-in to what you want to do at the local library. Again, this is important, so that just seems like, oh, well, this is just a one-time event, and they just need us all to come to their event. No, you don't want to see it as a one-time event. You want to get these people engaged and say, we mean business, and we want to get you and get the community involved for the long haul. Again, in-kind media partnerships, this connects to the marketing and PR efforts, but really the power of radio and TV in the Spanish-speaking community is pretty amazing. You can send out email blasts, you can pass out flyers, you can talk to families and friends and stuff, but the radio the power of radio in particular is pretty amazing. So it's important to have one of these media partners kind of on your advisory group as you move forward and providing more services and programs to the community.
Great. So time for you to ask some questions, and maybe we can help you with some answers. I've mentioned it several times already, but there are handouts that go along with this webinar. You will find a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. A key document that we hadn't mentioned was we pulled together some Spanish language and bilingual marketing efforts done by libraries that we worked with. So please check out the marketing PDF. There's a resource list detailing all of the links and the videos that we saw today. And then, of course, InfoPeople's necessary Spanish language for librarians. So we're waiting on some questions. Okay, Heather says, I noticed that there were English books interfiled with Spanish material. I saw the Spanish books were labeled. Does it work better to have them separated out? I'm going to go back to that graphic that you saw that. It probably depends upon your library's resources, right? Working across the great state of California, I've come across libraries that are one room and libraries that are 6 floors. So it depends on what kind of space you have available and how much you've already developed your community. Certainly at the San Diego Central Public Library, they have a special section on the main level that is all in Spanish. But as you can see, the library that is in this graphic, they interspersed their books throughout their regular collection and then marked them so that they would be easily spotted. So I think it's a personal library preference. Any recommended websites for popular Hispanic literature? We have a lot of minimal educated individuals who struggle with reading both in English and Spanish. Perhaps some of the librarians who are online today could type in some information in the chat lines about resources they're familiar with. I know that the websites such as Chile's included lots of book reviews, suggested readings, and I believe there was even sections there on materials and books to help SLL programs. That's something I can do a little more research on, and I would be happy to respond to that in email tomorrow. Same with vendors. Where to buy novellas? Ethan, do you have any idea where to buy novellas?
In terms of videos, it's kind of pretty amazing that the local Spanish-speaking stores do have a lot of options. The video rental stores. So worst case scenario is if you can't find it online in your general area, I would just try a local Spanish-speaking video rental store, and I know that's not a permanent solution. But if you're having a public screening or a community event, and you need a kind of a one-time screening, that might be an option. We do a lot of working directly with distributors, of course, so we can get some names to you. But there's companies like Venom Movies. Is a big company that distributes Spanish-speaking films and videos, and then more and more, Amazon.com is having a lot of Spanish-speaking titles. One thing I can help too, if you're interested in screening particular films, you can email me, and I can come up with some suggested films and some titles of where you would get these.
Great, and I also see that some of the other participants have listed some information in the chat area. BWI has alerts and core collection department done by professional librarians. Their website's free to access, titletales.com. And Alicia gets some photo novellas through EBSCO this year. And Cindy also mentions Criticus magazine, who might still do book reviews and offer suggested reading lists. Jake asked about libraries doing outreach for existing services, or do libraries need to make changes and adapt to the community? I find that you should always remember what your core services are and build upon them. So definitely think about what you already have established and how that can reach the community. But as we learned from Oceanside's experience, understanding, doing a needs assessment of what the community needs is really going to help guide you to maybe improving your services to reach that community. You know, even with all of this digital age taking over, the key is, you know, connecting people to people. And so the more that you can understand who the community is, the better you can serve their needs. And yes, this webinar will be archived on the InfoPeople website, so you will be able to access that later. Great. Any final comments, Ethan?
I just want to thank everyone and for supporting the community. It's so crucial that there be an engaged community. As the population grows and grows, it's so important that we are educating all ages and making sure they understand the wonderful resources that you have at the public libraries. And the only way we can do that is if we show that there's a commitment, that we're continually providing programs and services, and then we're providing programs and services that are culturally relevant to them. So I want to applaud all of you and thank you for working with the community and connecting to everyone. I think it's a great opportunity we all have as the Latino population continues to grow.
Thank you, Ethan. And thank you to everyone who participated today. We hope that you are walking away from this with some good resources, ideas that will inspire you to launch off your own programs to your community. Please visit the InfoPeople website and look for new webinars coming up soon.